Picture this. An American fighter jet is spiraling toward the Iranian desert. Two crew members eject into hostile territory, and the most powerful military on the planet drops everything, launching one of the most extraordinary search and rescue operations in modern history just to bring them home. What you are about to hear is not a Hollywood script. This is the real story of an aircraft call sign, Dude 44, shot down over Iran on April 3, 2026. A story of survival, deception, courage, and the brutal realities of what the United States Air Force actually means when it says air superiority. It was early morning on April 3rd when an F-15E Strike Eagle call sign, Dude 44, went down over southwestern Iran. At first, Iranian state media ran wild with it. Press TV published images of debris and declared they had shot down an F-35, America's most advanced stealth fighter. That was already a major red flag. Look at the debris closely, and what you actually see is consistent with an F-15E Strike Eagle, a twin-engine, two-seat multi-role fighter based out of a well-known Royal Air Force installation in the United Kingdom, home of the United States Air Force's 48th Fighter Wing. According to multiple news reports, analysts and a former Australian Air Force officer confirmed the aircraft almost certainly belonged to that wing. Why does that matter? Because Iran almost immediately overplayed its hand. Iranian state media insisted they had shot down an F-35. That is a single-seat aircraft. An F-15E, by contrast, carries two crew members, a pilot and a weapons systems officer, often abbreviated as a WSO. By misidentifying the jet, Iran unknowingly revealed gaps in their own intelligence. And as we will see later in this story, that mistake would have consequences. United States Central Command said nothing at first, and there is a very good reason for that. Operational security. Both crew members had ejected over hostile Iranian territory. A rescue operation was already being launched. The last thing you want to do is announce details of a rescue mission to the enemy while your people are still on the ground. This is the right moment to talk about something that a lot of people got wrong in the hours after the shootdown. The question that exploded across social media was simple. How does a United States jet get taken down if the United States has air superiority? The answer lies in how the Air Force actually defines that term. There is a concept in Air Force doctrine called the control of air continuum. It lays out several levels of airspace control. The first is air parity. Neither side dominates the sky, but both can operate in it. The second level is air superiority, and this is the key phrase. One side can carry out operations without prohibitive interference. Those are the exact words from doctrine. That does not mean zero risk. It does not mean the enemy cannot shoot back. It means the adversary cannot prevent your operations. The third level, air supremacy, is where the enemy provides essentially zero meaningful interference. The United States has never claimed supremacy over Iran's airspace. What they have claimed consistently is superiority. Just 2 days before the F-15E was shot down, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff appeared on camera and confirmed, quote, "Given the increase in air superiority, we've successfully started to conduct the first overland bomber missions." He used the word superiority, not supremacy, not dominance. That is a precise, deliberate choice of language. And here is what makes that relevant to our story. According to reporting by various intelligence and news outlets, later confirmed by the president himself at a press conference on April 6th, the F-15E was taken down by a man-portable air defense system, often called a man-pad, which is essentially a shoulder-fired heat-seeking missile. The commander-in-chief described it plainly. They got lucky. He said the missile, quote, got sucked in right by the engine. A man-pad operates at very low altitudes, typically below 15,000 feet. That means the F-15E was flying well within its engagement envelope, suggesting the crew was conducting a close-in mission, likely targeting specific infrastructure or mobile assets deep inside Iranian territory. That is not a failure of air superiority. That is the inherent risk of flying combat missions against a determined enemy, even a degraded one. Iran has been systematically bombarded for over a month. Their radar networks, missile batteries, and air defense command centers have taken devastating strikes under a sustained operation known as Epic Fury. But asymmetric warfare persists. A single soldier in a field with a shoulder-fired missile is not a radar network. You cannot bomb it into non-existence from 30,000 feet. This is the uncomfortable truth about modern air campaigns. Even when you destroy 11,000 targets in 30 days, as military leadership confirmed, a rifleman with a heat seeker can still change the course of a day. Now, let us talk about the two men who ejected from that aircraft. The Air Force calls them isolated personnel. Their call signs were Dude 44 Alpha, the pilot, and Dude 44 Bravo, the weapons systems officer, a colonel. Both ejected safely, and both critically activated their survival training. All United States aircrew are trained in a rigorous program known as survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, or SERE. Step 1. Eject and survive the landing. Step 2. Move to a secure position and evade capture. Step 3. Use encrypted radio to transmit location back to friendly forces. According to Israeli media reports relayed to American outlets, both crew members radioed in their locations. That was extremely good news. It meant they had survived the ejection, were coherent, and their trained protocol was holding. The rescue mission launched almost immediately. And here is where this story transforms from a crisis into something genuinely extraordinary. The lead element was the Air Force Personnel Recovery Community, the Pararescue Jumpers, or PJs, whose motto is, "So that others may live." These are specialized operators trained in high-angle rescue, battlefield medicine, and direct action. They do not treat this as just a job. They call it a no-fail mission. They will give their lives to bring Americans home. Accompanying them was a security element drawn from the broader special operations community, including naval special warfare operators, special forces soldiers, Marine Corps special operators, and elements from the elite aviation regiment known as the Night Stalkers, who provide the helicopter airframes. The first phase of the operation, recovering the pilot, was completed during daylight hours on Friday, April 3rd, in what Central Command later confirmed was a 7-hour operation. According to defense reporting, it deployed 21 aircraft flying at very low altitude through active hostile airspace. A specialized search and rescue helicopter executed the extraction flanked by close air support aircraft, providing cover and larger command aircraft managing communications and refueling. But the weapons systems officer, Dude 44 Bravo, was a different story. During the first operation, a close air support aircraft supporting the rescue mission was struck by Iranian fire. This is the aircraft we saw footage of. An Iranian Revolutionary Guard member on the ground shooting at it with a rifle, while the helicopter and the fixed-wing aircraft pressed on without returning fire. The priority was finding the crew member, not engaging every threat. The pilot of that damaged aircraft continued the mission, fought through the damage, flew the aircraft into another country's airspace, and then made the decision to eject when it became clear the aircraft could not land safely. That pilot was recovered quickly and is reported to be doing fine. 2 additional helicopters were also hit and damaged during the Friday operation. Both made it back. The weapons systems officer, meanwhile, had moved, and that is where the Zagros Mountains became both the enemy's challenge and the airman's salvation. According to reporting from major publications and confirmed by senior administration officials at the April 6th briefing, the colonel, the weapons systems officer, had ejected, sustained injuries consistent with the physical trauma of a high-speed ejection, and then began climbing. He moved into a crevice in the mountainous terrain of southwestern Iran in a remote province. He bled, he hid, he waited, and he transmitted. At one point, United States officials grew concerned when they intercepted a message from the airman that read simply, "God is good." According to media reports, the phrasing initially raised alarm that he had been captured and was being forced to speak under duress. It turned out to be exactly what it sounded like. A man alone on a mountainside, wounded, grateful to still be alive. Iran, meanwhile, was fully mobilized. The Revolutionary Guard had dispatched thousands of personnel to find him. Iranian state media was offering a bounty, the equivalent of $60,000, to any local who could help locate and turn over the American. The entire region was being cordoned off, and the Iranian government was loudly claiming, with zero proof, that they had already captured both crew members. That lie mattered because as long as Iran was making claims without evidence, it confirmed what the United States was hoping. The weapons systems officer was still free. The intelligence apparatus was already involved before the second rescue was launched. According to multiple senior administration officials speaking to news outlets, the agency initiated a deception operation. They spread information inside Iran using human assets and what officials described as exquisite technical capabilities that United States forces had already located the weapons systems officer and were moving him on the ground toward extraction. This was fabricated. It was designed to pull Iranian search forces away from his actual location. While the deception was running, intelligence assets tracked the airman to his exact position in the mountain crevice and transmitted those coordinates to the Pentagon and the White House. The president then ordered an immediate rescue mission. What followed was by any measure staggering in scale. According to defense reporting and confirmed by military leadership and the president at the Monday briefing, the second rescue mission involved 155 aircraft. That includes 4 bombers, 64 fighters, 48 refueling tankers, 13 dedicated rescue aircraft, tactical drones, and support platforms. United States aircraft were dispatched to 7 different locations across Iran simultaneously, not because the weapons systems officer was in 7 places, but to confuse Iranian forces and make it impossible to predict where the real extraction was happening. The president described it plainly at the press conference. We wanted to have them think he was in a different location because they had a vast military force out there. Special Operations Forces established a forward arming and refueling point, known as a FARP, in a flat stretch of the mountainous region, flying in multiple helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft. At some point during the operation, 2 large transport aircraft became stuck on the improvised airfield and could not depart. Rather than allow them to fall into Iranian hands, American forces destroyed them on the ground. Iran's Revolutionary Guard later released images showing the burned wreckage along with what appeared to be the remains of 4 special operations helicopters. Those are real losses. The United States military is not pretending otherwise, but they are also the price of a no-fail mission. Naval special warfare operators ultimately reached the weapons systems officer in the mountain crevice. He was extracted. He was alive. He was seriously wounded. Early Sunday morning, Easter Sunday, April 5, 2026, the commander-in-chief posted on social media. The message was 3 words long. "We got him." He followed it with a statement to news outlets calling it an Easter miracle. And then, characteristically, he added, "The Iranians thought they had him, but it wasn't even close." The subsequent briefing clarified the full picture. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs described the operation as one of the most complex and challenging missions in the history of United States Special Operations. He confirmed no American service members were killed. The weapons systems officer, a highly respected colonel, had sustained injuries but would survive. According to operational summaries, Iranian sources acknowledged 3 Revolutionary Guard members were killed during the rescue, including a brigadier general commanding a military college, who was reportedly killed in a United States airstrike near a major Iranian city during the operation. Now, let us step back and absorb what this moment actually means. Some analysts are framing the F-15E shootdown as a failure, and on one level, it is a data point that demands honest assessment. According to multiple reports, the incident, the first confirmed loss of a crewed United States aircraft to Iranian fire since the war began on February 28, dispels the most simplistic version of the narrative that the United States has total unchallenged control over Iranian airspace. As a former Central Command commander told reporters, such losses are, in his words, an acceptable consequence of sustained combat operations. No war is without friction. No air superiority, no matter how overwhelming, eliminates risk entirely. But here is the other side of that equation. Iran deployed thousands of personnel. They offered cash bounties. They claimed victory repeatedly and publicly. They could not catch one wounded colonel who survived nearly 50 hours in a mountain crevice while the most powerful military in the world came to get him. The United States, meanwhile, deployed 155 aircraft, launched a high-level deception operation, established a forward operating base in hostile territory, and extracted both crew members without a single American fatality. That is not a narrative of weakness. That is a demonstration of capability that no other military on Earth could replicate. There is one more thread in this story that deserves attention, and it takes us briefly away from the mountain. During the same period as the rescue operation, news emerged that a relative of a prominent Iranian military figure assassinated in 2020 had been living in the United States on a green card on the path towards citizenship. She became publicly outspoken in support of the Revolutionary Guard and the Islamic Republic. Her green card has since been rescinded and she is being deported. This follows earlier revelations reported during the opening weeks of the war that the daughter of a high-ranking Iranian official was residing in the United States even as Iran was crushing protesters in the streets. The pattern is stark. The families of Iran's ruling class seek refuge in the country their government calls the Great Satan. Their children live here. Their assets sit here. The hypocrisy is not subtle. Now, where does this leave the broader war? The sustained campaign has now passed the 40-day mark. The United States and its allies launched the campaign on February 28, 2026, with surprise strikes that killed the supreme leader. Since then, according to human rights groups, over 3,500 people have been killed inside Iran, including more than 1,600 civilians and at least 244 children. 13 American service members have been killed. Iran continues to fire missiles into the region. A projectile struck a residential building in a major coastal city on Sunday, injuring 4 people just minutes after the rescue was confirmed. The vital waterway of the Strait of Hormuz remains a pressure point. The administration has openly threatened escalation if Iran does not reopen the vital channel. Negotiations are a matter of dispute. The White House says talks are ongoing. Iran says there are no direct negotiations. Both things may be simultaneously true, playing out through intermediaries in ways neither side will publicly acknowledge. The rescue of Dude 44 is, in this context, a moment of clarity. War is not a controlled laboratory. It is friction, loss, improvisation, and the relentless test of institutional will. The United States lost an aircraft and nearly lost 2 men. It then committed an extraordinary level of national resources, intelligence, special operations, air power, and deception to bring them home. Whether that signals strength or overextension depends entirely on what happens next. What we know is this: the weapons systems officer is alive. He climbed a mountain with injuries. He followed his training, and when the moment came, his country came for him. That is the story of Dude 44 Bravo. That is where we stand tonight in the unfolding conflict with Iran.